Hi, gang. Hello, hello. Hi, everybody. Greetings from the Smercomics boardroom. I hope everybody had a nice Thanksgiving and that you are ready for Black Friday. Speaking of Black Friday, what a tragedy. Rest in peace, Sarah Beckstrom, just 20 years old. I read the backstory. So sad. Wanted to serve, wanted to be with family for Thanksgiving, and now she's gone because of that ambush style attack by an Afghan national not too far from the White House. I know precisely the spot where that took place. Andrew Wolf, the other guardsman shot in the attack, fighting for his life at this moment, according to the family. So we have both in our prayers. Your Black Friday poll question at smerconish.com. Whose side of the story are you more interested in hearing? Olivia Nuzzi or Ryan Lizza? No, you can't say neither. Yes, it's tawdry, but we're going to talk about it. We are going to talk about it. I know one thing about this story, and only one thing about this story for sure. First of all, my answer to the question is I want to hear his side. I want to hear what else he has to say. I think we get her side. She had a relationship with, quote unquote, the politician, as she describes in the book, kind of a one and done as she presents it. Not so, says the ex-fiance, who is unspooling his side in tantalizing fashion, promising that there's much more to the story and that it's really about journalistic ethics and not just or even solely about sex. The only thing I know for sure is that this broken engagement, this broken engagement and its causes are coming soon to a streamer near all of us. Thank you to my friends at Parks Casino in Shippensburg. Perfect day, beautiful weather outside in central Pennsylvania. Go for a drive, check out the foliage before it's all gone. Get lucky in no time at Parks Casino, Shippensburg, PA, located right in central Pennsylvania. Exit 29 off Interstate 81, close to Hagerstown, Maryland, close to Martinsburg, West Virginia, and the nearby Pennsylvania towns of Chambersburg, Carlisle, Greencastle. They've got comedy there every Friday night. So tonight, comedy at 8 p.m., comedian Earl David Reed from The Tonight Show. Parks Casino Shippensburg, 500 state-of-the-art slot machines, 48 live dealer table games, a great award-winning Liberty Bar and Grill, happy hour, you name it, they've got it. Go mingle. Live music every Wednesday and Saturday, so tomorrow night in Shippensburg. ParksCasino.com. You got to be 21. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. The Wednesday poll result. I thought we had it just occurred to me. I hope I'm appropriately dressed to have this conversation. We had a great conversation on Wednesday talking about Department of Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy saying that airline passengers ought to dress with respect so as to promote civility. Do you agree with that? 33,477 voted. 55.54% of us said yes. The data is amazing, just in terms of the incivility in the skies. And by the way, I get it. I get it. When they cram us into those seats and oversell the flights, it's almost as if the airlines are asking for uncivil behavior. But listen to the data. Since 2019, the FAA has seen a 400% increase in in-flight outbursts, ranging from disruptive behavior to outright violence. I shared at my Thanksgiving table, just, shooting the breeze and talking about recent radio programs and so forth. I shared the analysis that I remembered. It was 9 years old, but I remembered it, and TC confirmed it, of there being higher incidents or rates of incidents of unrest on planes for those flights that have a first class section. But I got to say, at the dinner table, somebody said, how do you know that's not based on duration of flight? In other words, if you take a small regional airline, there is no first class, right? So maybe the causal link isn't what I'm making it to be. I attribute it, and the academic study that I read attributed it to people walking on board the plane. They're looking at first class, like these SOBs, I ought to be in first class. Then they go back to coach, and then, something happens and it sparks tempers, and you say, well, it's sort of a class divide issue, a resentment factor. But at the Thanksgiving table, it was advanced that no, maybe you've got a first class section always on the long haul flights. And maybe it's the duration. I don't know. Did they control for the flight time? I don't know. 13,800 unruly passenger incidents since 2021. 1 in 5 flight attendants have experienced physical incidents since 2021. So the other thing that we learned Wednesday on the program is I grabbed the data and I found that there is data suggestive that your clothing improves your behavior. Enclothed cognition is what they call it. And there was that one study that I cited where people were given either a lab coat or a smock. They were exactly the same, but in some cases they were told this is what a painter wears. And in some cases they were told this is what a physician wears. And those who were told this is what a physician wears made less mistakes in the analysis. It had to do with attention spans. And those who were told you're wearing the coat of a physician made fewer mistakes. Anyway, interesting conversation. That's how it turned out. Yesterday, are you thankful for being an American? 89.38% of 29,478 said yes. I was thrilled to see that. The 9 in 10 depends how you word the question, but that tracks with the scientific data that I've seen on this question as well. It matters whether you ask about people being thankful or grateful. The wording is very, very important. I'll just give you this tidbit. In January of 2001, Gallup first began asking Americans how proud they were. 87% said extremely or very proud. After the 9/11 attacks, the figure increased to 90%, held at that level or higher between 2002 and 4, and then started to drop. So anyway, I didn't say pride. I think pride has a different meaning than thankful, right? Pride, boastful, I'm proud of this country. Thankful, yeah, I'm thankful I'm an American. 9 out of 10 of us, I'm on a roll, said I'm thankful to be an American. Okay, as for today's tawdry poll question, this torrid love affair or affairs from the New York Times, you're dialed in, you're POTUS listeners, you get the newsletter, you already know this, but just for the uninitiated, Olivia Nuzzi is 32, Ryan Lizza is 51. The New York Times, they were a modestly glamorous, well-connected Washington couple. What thought went into that sentence? They were a modestly glamorous. What makes them, modestly glamorous as opposed to glamorous? I don't know. They ended their engagement last year after her personal involvement with Robert F. Kennedy became widely known. Nuzzi profiled Kennedy for New York Magazine during his presidential run in 2023, lost her job the next year after her bosses learned of the entanglement. In recent days, she has reemerged to promote her memoirish work of social commentary, American Canto, Canto. I'll spare you looking it up. Poem, loosely described. So, okay, the relationship that she had, the engagement that she had with Ryan Lizza, from this modestly glamorous couple, that implodes, as you might imagine, after this all comes to light. And so just as her book is released, Ryan Lizza has been launching his own, I was going to say Substack, but I think it's Telos, but his own platform. And I'm sure he's doing great business as a result because, well, here's a taste. So in part 1, he has released parts 1, 2, and 3 so far. But in part 1, here's what he wrote. Pardon me for this, but yeah, I've got to read it to you literally. A little graphic, not that graphic. It was early March, writes Ryan Lizza. I looked out the window at the garden and noticed the first flowers blooming. Then, squinting, I also thought that I saw some new shoots of bamboo. I would have to get out the machete, but one mess at a time. As I tidied up the desk, something on the Kimpton stationery, hotel stationery, caught my eye and I started to read. Quote, if I swallowed every drop of water from the tower above your house, Olivia had written, I would still thirst for you. End quote. Unfortunately, writes Ryan Lizza, the lack of a water tower on our Georgetown home's roof ruled me out as the note's intended recipient. I flipped to another page and saw a name and the first line of an unfinished love letter to him that included enough details to confirm a physical relationship and the hint of some kind of falling out. My heart stopped when I realized who he was. He was a famous politician, 32 years older than Olivia and well known for a sex scandal. But more importantly, he was a presidential candidate, a source, and the subject of Olivia's recent profile for New York. I started to build a mental map of the potential blast zone, ticking through the concentric circles of our lives that her recklessness could shatter. The privacy of my children, the wedding Olivia had pressured me to plan, her journalism career, our book project. I was not a perfect partner, but the scale of Olivia's betrayal was devastating. She had an affair with someone who would provide the maximum level of humiliation and personal and professional ruin, perhaps for both of us. She later explained to me that she became infatuated with him after their interview, that she couldn't get him out of her head, and that as her obsession intensified, she sent him increasingly risque pictures and texts, secretly followed him on the campaign trail when she told me she was covering other candidates, and fantasized about a rendezvous which was consummated at his house in South Carolina one night after she went dark on me and made up a story about how she was dealing with a crisis concerning her sick mother. I was sure our relationship was over, and certainly our book project was dead. She had crossed a journalistic red line. How could we write a book about the presidential campaign if Olivia had a sexual relationship with one of the candidates? I looked at the date on her aborted letter to Mark, March 5, 2020, just a few days ago. I called my agent. Quote, "We have a big problem," I said. "Olivia is sleeping with Mark Sanford." Wow. Therein lies the answer to today's poll question at Smerconish.com. Whose side of the story do you want to hear more? Answer, Ryan Lizza. Why? Because he's the better writer. And my God, he's got much more of his story to tell. In his most recent post, which is his third installment, he claims that Olivia became a private political operative for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. while publicly posing as a hard-nosed reporter. Quote, "In other words, what you've been reading about her is not really a scandal about sex, but a scandal about journalistic ethics." There are a lot of interesting takes on this relationship and what it all means. But my favorite, Tina Brown. Tina Brown writing, I was going to say for Vanity Fair, the former editor of Vanity Fair, now with her own Substack column. Listen to this. Did Lizza lie in wait to launch this new Substack just at the moment when Nuzzi's prose poem was in the middle of an adulatory New York Times? Oh, yeah, that New York Times, holy smokes. That New York Times pictorial with video and so forth. Unbelievable. I don't know how they justify that, but okay. Anyway, Tina is wondering, was Ryan Lizza like lying in wait for her to roll out her book so that he could begin to tell his story and launch his own new platform? Lizza quotes from one of RFK's more appalling dick-rearing jottings to Nuzzi, "I am a river, you are my canyon. I mean to flow through you." Yes, that's RFK to her, allegedly, reportedly. And as Tina writes, "Happy Thanksgiving, Cheryl Hines." Lizza says he was taping all of their recriminatory conversations. Who does that except someone plotting a print version of revenge porn? Ironically, his is much more gripping of a version of their shattered engagement, and guarantees, here's the part that I agree with, that he's made American Canto a surefire bestseller, and that Netflix will have to buy both their life rights for a 6-part series. Each will insist on being executive producer, which means they will eventually be working together again in steaming cinematic hate. All right. Now you're prepped on this Black Friday for the poll question of the day at Smerconish.com. By the way, don't the cartoons look awesome? My favorite cartoons from Smercomics, which I have blown up. There are more of them in the room, but you see 4 behind me. Spare me the self-righteousness and go vote on today's poll question at Smerconish.com. Whose side of the story are you more interested in hearing, Olivia Nuzzi or Ryan Lizza? My answer is his side of the story. I think there's much more to it. Hers seems rather one-dimensional, and we'll see. We'll see. Go vote on the poll question of the day. I will see you not live on radio today, but a great show, a great best of show nonetheless. I'm going to prep my CNN program for tomorrow, and I will be back here on YouTube Live 7:30 Eastern Time Saturday morning. 7:30 Eastern Time Saturday morning. Okay, gang, have a great day. Don't spend too much. This is my day for, I told you on air how I use Black Friday. Sure, a little bit of Christmas shopping, but it's also my day to take advantage of some sales. If you heard the description, you heard the description. If you didn't, I'm not telling it again. See ya.